October of 2025, first Terraria Direct Showcase held place. Many great mods made their appearance, but there was one mod that kept me up at night. Terraria with automation. And on the 1st of June of 2026, Macrocosm version 0.1 was released, adding excavators, smelters, assemblers, power sources, batteries, and other machinery. So let's discover how big of a factory can we create in Terraria. I'm choosing a large world on a master difficulty and the run starts. I never played Macrocosm, so I'll try to focus only on mod related stuff. Speaking of, soon enough I find myself in a jungle, and there is a new type of tree there called heavier tree, which drops heavier wood, saplings and rubber. Rubber is used to make wires early into the game. I can also make crude wire cutter and wrench out of tin. Yes, this mod provides wiring before Skeletron, so there must be a reason for it. We'll see about that. But for now, a fridge? It seems to be just a normal chest, but it sure looks cool. It's nice to see the industrial part of the mod right away. Down in case there is a handful of new ores: aluminum, coal and lithium. And oh look, a dead man's chest. This is where wire cutters come in handy. I've collected some ores and now I'm back at the surface and I'm ready to make something new with them. Except I can't really do anything. Aluminum is used to make very questionable gear, which is kind of realistic but underwhelming. Lithium is used to make batteries, but they are useless for me right now. And coal is used to make steel, but I can only make it at Hellforge. To be fair, mod developers acknowledge that as an issue, but for now I'll have to venture to the bottom of the world to get my hands on steel. First of all, I want to build a nice base. I'll try to use new blocks and furniture. So this is what I came up with. Heavier wood makes for nice roof tiles and beams, and heavier furniture has a modern and cozy look to it. Here we have a bathroom with a glass toilet and a panoramic window. Nice and cozy backyard garden, a simple living room, and a warm lighted cellar. The right part of the building is primarily made of stone, with an oven and a little coal pile in the basement, a kitchen that I tried to make look modern to the best of my abilities, a tower made with new Gothic coal bricks. They are gorgeous, but a bit out of theme, so I didn't use them that much. Deeper into the caves, I found the bomb statue, which produces bombs when receiving a wire signal, which will help me accelerate the process of getting to the bottom of the world. Slime rain decided to happen, and I have a fun idea for it. I built a wall of dart traps and 2 rows of platforms to jump from. Slime King didn't kill me, my traps did. Ultimately, I fell a victim of my own design. Down in the mines, I finally reach the underworld, so it's time to make some steel. Steel Zweihander. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not the biggest fan of that. This swinging mechanic somehow feels even worse than the base one. You can charge it, but if you get hit while charging, then you take the damage and not the enemy. I mean, skill issue obviously, but it would have been nice if steel armor gave some knockback resistance. Sprites look great though. Now then, I'm playing a factory game, so let's see what kind of factory can I make out of aluminum and steel. Excavator automatically extracts ores and resources from underground, does not damage the terrain. I mean, I don't know about you, I was sold on the very first word. The only missing part is diamonds. I know one way to find them guaranteed, it's to get the extractinator and a bunch of siftable blocks. I went into the desert to find one, but I found something else. Oil shale. It looks like a recolored sandstone blocks, but that's okay. I suppose that oil as a liquid should also be present, but I never saw one. Anyways, it seems like I won't be able to use this shale for a while, so I left to search elsewhere. I've searched in caverns, jungle, ice biome, but I just couldn't find the extractinator. I even found diamonds already, but at this point it's personal. I have a feeling that this mod has something to do with extracting things, and listen, I might be onto something. A random teleportation potion placed me inside a glowing moss cave under the ocean, and here I found a new type of sand. Silica sand. It seems like this thing has just spawned in, based on all of that debris nearby. I can guess that oil shale is generated the same way, because they have similar settings in the mod configuration menu. So they are not generated during the world generation, but only when suitable location is approached. Now, why did I mention that? I don't know. I find it cool. And I finally found the extractinator. And I was right. Alongside the normal ores and gems, there was a new kind of material. Silicon. What do I need it for? I don't know yet. Firstly, let's build an excavator. It has a rather interesting inventory with pretty buttons. As you can see, it doesn't work right now. It's because excavator needs power, and this is where wind turbine comes in. And it still doesn't work. Maybe I need a battery. Battery is filling up, which tells me that the power is not an issue. Maybe I need to put desired ore somewhere. Maybe I need to put it underneath the machine. Yep, that works. And the menu on the right is actually a display of ores under the machine. It seems to be underpowered a bit, so I think it's time to introduce burner generator. You can put burnable things inside, and as the generator heats up, more power is produced. Still no effect, huh? Well, how about adding more ore? That seems to work. I've got my first manufactured material, but now the sky is all funky, with weird clouds of smoke and suspiciously dark rain. There is even a new kind of disgusting slimes around. Generator seems to be very hungry for wood, but I can see that when it doesn't have fuel, it still produces power, but it loses heat gradually. So, if I apply this 1-second timer to the power switch, then it will be switching on and off every second, making it work only half of the total time. This way I'm preserving some fuel in exchange for a couple of watts, but that was only in theory. In practice I'm losing a little bit more power than producing, so the generator is going to die eventually, but I like the idea. So I will claim it. I will call it a flipper generator. Or a pulsar generator. Anyway, combustible power sucks ass. I don't want to upkeep it with wood all day. Renewable energy seems to be a much easier solution. Remember silicon? Well, I can make solar panels with it. except they are not working, even during the day. I guess it's because of rain, which is kind of a bummer. I expected a drop in power production, not a complete halt. From a perspective, it seems like wind power is much better than solar. It can work throughout the night and during the rain. But let's not be unfounded. Let's run the tests. I made a new journey world. On the left I placed 3 solar panels that can produce a maximum of 30 kilowatts, and on the right 3 wind turbines with the same power output. Both setups will be connected to excavators with same ore distribution. I crank up the speed of the world and start the experiment at dawn. 2 whole days later, wind power setup produced 8 ores, and solar produced only 3, but the longer the experiment goes, the more accurate will be results. "23 days later, wind-powered excavator has 73 ores, and solar has 37. The same amount of wind power is going to produce roughly twice as much energy as solar. It's not nearly balanced, but probably intentional. Other planets are going to have other meta. Well, what's our next goal? To scale up, obviously. Turbines, batteries, excavators, all of that is made out of mineable resources. So the more I can produce right now, the more I will be able to produce later. It's like a snowball. Now I want to build a new base out of new materials. And there is a set of new blocks, which are made of steel and aluminum. They are kind of expensive, but with my new setup, I think I can afford them. Wow, they're beautiful. But wait a minute, I can't mine it. My pickaxe is not strong enough. Well, I guess that's a reason to progress further. I was about to start building a new base, but then I realized that all of new furniture is locked behind Hardmode crafting station, Fabricator. Now I have even more reasons to progress, I guess. Oh, an engineering helmet. Nice. Now I have a base that can produce many different ores. But there is one thing that I don't really understand. Why do I need to automate resources like iron? It can be easily be bought by the thousands from a merchant in the form of anvils and then converted via shimmer. So naturally I found shimmer, and it seems to be broken. Items don't convert, they just sit at the bottom, all invisible, thinking that I won't see them. I went to the Discord and yeah, that's not intentional. Dev said that they are going to fix it, but for now I have to live with it. On the bright side, I can see a reason to automate things like iron. Now it's time to get to hard mode. And I have a rather engineer idea on how to beat the wall of flesh. It's so-called door method. I'm sure I'm not the one to invent it. It's just an interesting way to defeat wall of flesh if you have a lot of free time or really struggling. It involves wall-piercing weapons like Night's Age and a long solid tube filled with doors. The idea is that doors close automatically behind you, so eye lasers cannot hit you even when you're right in front of the wall of flesh. To summon the wall of flesh, I'm not going to farm for the guide tool, it's unreliable. I'm going to boil the guide alive. back on the surface, and I'm immediately greeted with a bunch of new angry abominations caused by my factory. And these flying shitbits are no joke. Building a factory so close to the base was a mistake. So I admitted defeat and removed my excavators in shame. For now. Collecting Hardmode ores is very easy with excavators. All that I need is a little bit of them to kickstart the duplication, and soon enough I have adamantium by the hundreds. I also started farming diamonds in preparation for a big excavator comeback. Now that I have a fabricator, I can finally make myself a new base. And this is the result. Starting with the locker room. Lockers are chests. They have their own inventory. Then goes the waiting room with large windows. Then the elevator hub with a beautiful big screen. It can switch channels when receiving a signal, which is super cool. I want channels to switch on its own, randomly, but I don't have the technology yet. On lower level we have living quarters, a little storage area with a tiny AC unit. I know it's supposed to be on the outside. It just seems so perfect in here, like a piece of broken machinery that they didn't know where to put. And then we have barracks with bunker beds, which are actual working beds. I can sleep in them, but only on the ground ones. And then we have a bathroom with a mirror in the background, made of inactive white gem-spark walls. And if you're wondering where do residents take a shit, well, I didn't have space for a porcelain throne and a panoramic window, so they take a shit in a shower. And then we have a server room with a bunch of retro computers. On top we have an inner courtyard with beautiful sakura trees. Chain link fence in the background is actually a heavier fence painted white. I put a street lamp in the middle and then painted fence gray behind the trees to create an effect of very sharp shadows, which looks funny during the day, but fantastic at night. And finally, this is my working area with storage and crafting stations. Overall, a solid 10 out of 10 building materials. It was very fun to work with them. And check out my new engineering drip. Now the base is set up, now what? Scale up once again. And where does a good factory starts from? From a good power source, of course. And we have several new options: medium and large wind turbines and medium and large solar panels. I am willing to try solar this time. Unfortunately, it's very limited due to silicon. As far as I know, until space, silicon can only be obtained from siftable blocks or fish in ocean crates. Both of the methods are not automatic and very boring. Wind turbines are not only better, but it's the only scalable renewable power source at this point of the game. As I said, there are two options: medium and large turbines. They are both made from same materials, so I decided to jump straight to the big ones. And look at them, they are beautiful. Factory is also getting an upgrade, bigger excavators that mine more blocks of ore. I want to have an excavator dedicated to each ore that I will need in future projects. That includes lithium, tin, iron, cobalt, adamantium, aluminum, and coal. I also tried making gem blocks to automatically mine diamonds, but this doesn't seem to work, so gem trees are my only option. Turning all of the machines on makes the sky a deep blue color, and it's basically impossible to stay around because of all of the mobs. That's why I have this emergency switch to turn the machines off when needed, and strategy of polluting somewhere else seems to work like a charm. My base doesn't seem to be targeted. My next goal is to build an automatic mob farm with a twist. To make the most efficient farm I need to create a biome with most enemy spawn rates, which is underground desert. So I created desert walls and went to the shimmer to make them unsafe. yeah, the shimmer is broken. Well then, what can I do? I can either wait for devs to fix the mod, or I can build the farm directly in the underground desert. Now, the main twist that I was talking about is this famous volcano shape everyone uses. The main downside of it is that enemies have to walk there. And while they are walking, they are alive, which is the exact opposite of what we want. This problem is commonly solved with Hoik, but I have a different idea. Why not to make two volcanoes? As soon as enemies spawn, they are put straight to the torture chamber. One might argue that it's going to be harder to collect resources, but both the mod and 1.4.5 have hoppers now, so this is a legit way to farm enemies. Now it's time to defeat the mechanicals, and I have a fun little idea on how to do it. You might also know it. It's the Sawblade, made of hundreds of rolling stones. I can make it even better, putting honey inside. Now the stones are rolling super slow, so much that it's now a continuous loop of high damaging stones. If timed correctly, this thing can do a lot of damage to the destroyer. Mechanic finally arrived, and look at the amount of new stuff. There is a whole bunch of conveyor related things for a new item transfer mechanic. I can't wait to try them all out. But I have a major problem at my current factory, as it's fully dependent on wind power. Once there is no wind, whole factory goes silent. I can fix that by either introducing other power sources or by storing excess energy in batteries. And what's the best biome to place a bunch of batteries? Snow biome, of course, to keep them nice and cold. For the record, there is no overheating mechanic, I just want it for the aesthetics. So this is my final design. I made it so it could be continued as much as I want, but there is another major problem on the horizon. It's performance. Adding just 20 batteries led to noticeable FPS drop. I was able to localize it somewhat. FPS drop appears only when mechanical display is forced, so switching it off removes the lag entirely, which tells me that batteries themselves are not an issue. It's something that comes with wire display. My guess is this floating numbers. And yeah, I might be right. You can clearly see that they are displaying and updating even when they are off screen. I went to the mod configuration again, and there was an option to slow down the updates of circuit network. That seemed to help a bit, but I'm just delaying the inevitable. It's not really a fair trade either. These numbers themselves are useless. They do help on the early stages, but once you know all of the ratios, there is no need to know the exact wattage. And good luck reading them when they're overlapped like this. Easiest way to fix that is to make separate display for these numbers, so they could be switched off without switching off wire view. Also, mod configuration menu should have an option to slow down the updates of those numbers. And 1 second is good, but I would go even further, like 5 or 10 seconds. Fixing numbers displaying off screen is the most obvious one, but I feel like that's a backend problem. Well, back to the factory. Now that I have access to tools to transfer items between machines, I want to try oil processing. To do that, we have 3 new machines: pump jack, oil refinery, and kerosene generator. Pump jack can be placed basically anywhere, and it will produce oil. Oil can be collected into canisters and sent to the refinery to turn them into... it disappeared. Okay, well, what about just a empty canister? It also disappears. What about any material? It seems like whatever I put into the first slot of refinery is just being deleted. The only thing that is working is oil shell. Putting it inside produces kerosene, so pump jacks are basically useless right now. They do create oil, but you can't use it. The only thing that I've found is that oil could be poured into buckets. Same goes for kerosene. I've accidentally spilled both liquids on the ground and they don't seem to cause any solids upon interacting. Weird to see that in Terraria. Weirder still, kerosene on the bottom magically became unlimited. I can collect as much as I want, it's just one end. So, pump jacks are useless, refinery is broken. Can we call it a day? Well, not yet. Oil shell is mineable via excavators. So, to automate oil processing, I can mine oil shell. Using big excavator for this job seems like a mistake. It's using much more power than kerosene generator could produce, which leads me to an interesting question. Are big excavators any better than the small ones? Big ones consume 4 times the energy compared to small ones, so you would think that they are at least 4 times as productive. But that doesn't seem to be the case. I ran the tests and the results show me that they are like twice as effective. Which is logical because they have roughly twice as much mineable range. And there is no mining power difference between the big one and small one. Both of them can mine luminate, for example. So big excavators are also useless. With that out of the way, let's try to make automatic kerosene generator setup. I've spent some time researching on how do these new conveyors work and they are kind of cool. Basically, conveyor is a wire that connects different machines and lets them to transfer items. And don't mistake conveyors for conveyor belts. They are 2 separate things. I honestly don't know why did they name them conveyors. To me they resemble a chute. Let's call them chutes to avoid mistakes. Chutes come in 4 different colors, just like wires. They start with inlets and end with outlets. And once I got the basics down, trouble started to appear. Main one, as far as I know, there is no way to filter out items that should be transferred. So here you can see that oil refinery has filled kerosene canisters, and yet it sends out empty ones into the kerosene generator. You might be wondering, why did I make kerosene generator give canisters back? Well, once kerosene canister is used by the generator, it's nice enough to return empty canister back, so I have to send it to refuel. But it's not working. They are just jiggling empty ones around. So I need to find a way to filter out items. There is this weird electronic chest that is made out of normal chest and a printed circuit board, but I couldn't figure out what's so special about it, apart from a green light. There is no information on a wiki or Discord server, so it's time to figure out answer on my own. My first idea was this filtering chest. That's a chest that is filled to the brim with random junk except for 1 slot, and this is where filtering item goes. And it's actually working. Except it will break once all of the filled canisters leave the chest, because filtering item slot is now empty and it could be filled with anything. Filtering chest doesn't work right now, because it's missing a part that keeps the filtering slot filled no matter what. And wouldn't you know it, I found it, or rather invented it. I went through a lot of iterations, but I finally got the design. And let me tell you, this one is a head scratcher, even for me right now, rewatching the footage. Like, what is this? How am I supposed to explain it? Wait, no. I got it. It's actually kind of smart. So let's start with empty canisters that go from kerosene generator to oil refinery to get refueled. So empty canisters go into the filtering chest, and this is a one-way trip, they don't go back. From filtering chest, they go into the fuel refinery, but they do so in pairs. So 2 of them go into the refinery, 2 of them are returning back, and they return back to keep the filtering item slot. Well then, if 2 of them go in and 2 of them go out, how does it even work? The thing is, when kerosene as a liquid in a refinery tries to fill up a canister, it claims one of the canisters in between the exchange ticks. Now oil refinery has only 1 canister left to give back to the filtering chest. This way it always have at least 1 to use and 1 to give back. Then we have incoming oil shell from excavators, but it's the easiest thing in the world. It's just a straight chute, no filtering needed. Then we have filtering chests for filled canisters. It works kind of the same way, but not really, because kerosene generator cannot physically have asphalt blocks, which are used as a filter in filtering chest. Filtering chest always tries to give off 2 items, but it can only give off filled canisters, and kerosene generator returns 1 filled canister to keep the filtering item in place. So instead of accumulating in chest, filled canisters are kept in a generator. Now, is this setup foolproof? Not really. If kerosene canisters ever run out in the engine, then the filtering chest is going to break, but that would be the least of my problems, because that means that the fuel ran out. And that's a very real concern. I've tried setup with 1 excavator and it wasn't enough. Even 2 of them working constantly cannot upkeep with demand. And plugging 2 excavators and the refinery is equal to the generator output. Is there any way I could reduce the fuel cost? Actually, yes. Refinery has a strange tendency to consume electricity even when there is nothing to refine, and most of the time it just sits there idling. To fix that, all that I need to do is to connect it to 5-second timer, so it would only work half of the time. This way I can shave off 20 kilowatts of power. Pulsar generator method can buy even more power, but not much. I can use spare energy on underpowered third small generator, but then what? This setup can be net equal at best, and even if I'm positive on couple of kilowatts, what's the point? Even small wind turbine is going to be better than that. I can't even use it as a backup power source for when wind power is not available, because as far as I know, there is no way to tell if the battery ran out or not. Okay, if kerosene is not an option, then maybe burner generator can be automated. Well, no, it's also net negative. For now, the only fully automatic power source is renewable energy, and with wind power being the only scalable one, my choice is very limited. And let's look closely at the presented choice. If there is this weird trend that smaller buildings are better than the big ones, couldn't that be said towards turbines? Well, yes, big turbine has a material cost of 4 medium ones, but it produces as much power as 3 medium turbines. Same goes for solar power. There is actually 0 point in using big ones, or even medium ones, except for aesthetics, of course. They are gorgeous. There is also a solar panel blocks, but small panels are just better. And what about batteries? Actually, batteries are the only one that got it right. Big batteries hold 3 times as much energy, and they are slightly cheaper than 3 small batteries. So, if the best power source in the entire game is wind power, then let's embrace it. I decided to go into the sky and make a giant flying wind catcher. For the record, there is no height bonus for wind turbines like in Vintage Story. I'm just doing it because it's fun. If you think that this is ugly, then I agree. Don't worry, it's not the final design yet. You know why? It's all because of performance issues. Placing so much turbines led to a massive drop in frames. It's barely playable now. And with this issue, meta changed once again. Big turbines create the same amount of lag as medium ones, because both of them create the same amount of frame dropping numbers, but big ones produce more power. So performance-wise, they are better, and this is my final result. And batteries, I'm sorry, they have to go. Even at current demand, they are not enough to withstand. They buy at most of 10 seconds of work in still air. They are practically unusable. Place too much of them and game is unplayable. Too few and they don't do anything. Now that we are getting closer to the end game, it's time to tackle the main mechanic of the mod, Rocketry. It all starts with launchpad markers. I put them on the ground and now I can open rocket assembly menu. There is a lot to it. Rocket consists of 4 separate segments, some of which can be changed, and I can tell that there are 2 main types: rocket that go into the orbit and rocket with landing gear to travel to the moon. Ladder requires Luminate, so it's only available after Moonlord. There is also an option for a non-manned spacecraft. I don't really know what that's about, so I chose a simple pre-Moonlord manned rocket design. As you can see, there is a lot of rocket components to take care of. Most of them are just all of the available ores in some kind of combination. Making them manually is not that hard, and I already have enough resources to make at least 1 rocket. But I can guess that this is not the only rocket that I have to build. So I decided to make a factory that would make components automatically. And this is where I'm going to build it, in the heart of Crimson. I want to make it in style of Mystery Flash Pit National Park, and I've never tried to build with adamantium or titanium blocks because of how expensive these materials are, but this time they are almost endless, so I'll try to make something pretty. The idea is that alongside the shaft I'll make a place for excavators to produce ore, and then ore would be refined in smelters. Smelters are a type of machinery that does just that, it smelts stuff. Firstly, I need to pick the recipe and then fill it with materials. Then smelted ore goes into assembler. Assembler works just like smelter, but with different recipes. Item that is used the most throughout the rocket is rocket plating. It's made of adamantium, steel, aluminum and meteorite bars. So I went with 3 small smelters for aluminum, meteorite and iron respectively, and a big smelter that can house 2 recipes and can smelt hardmode ores, so it will make adamantium and steel. All of them are plugged into assembler, except for iron smelter. Iron bars are going into the next smelter to be baked into steel bars first. And as soon as I plug them all in, cracks begin to show. As you can see, unsmelted ore skips the smelter and jumps straight to the assembler. But if you take a look inside of the assembler, there is no ore. At first I thought that it simply disappeared, but then I noticed that unsmelted iron ore from the first smelter goes into assembler. While transferring, it did not show up in the second smelter, but it didn't disappear, it went further, which tells me that assemblers and smelters have some sort of hidden inventory. To test that theory, I plugged in the siphon chest, which simply sucks out all of the items from the machine, and I was right. After a wave of expected resources, ores begin to show up. So if filtering doesn't work because there is always free space in machine, then answer comes naturally. I need to fill the hidden storage with things that couldn't be processed, so that only dedicated spaces are left free. So I need a bunch of garbage. Mechanical cartwheel, pink gel, bunch of souls, poo block, arcane room wall, industrial toilet, desert spirit lamp, crimson key, enchanted sword, sure, why not, I have spares, coin gun. What a hungry machine. I need more garbage. I know what can help me. Furniture. I have a lot of different types of wood. I can create a ton of different items. So I went through all of the furniture and equipment, and holy shit, how much can this smelter eat? I had to go on this deforestation spree, which is, very industrial thing to do. And then finally, it choked on explosive dart trap. To be fair, I was filling up both smelter and assembler, but still, it felt like I've transferred 5 chests worth of items. Okay, moment of truth. Did the shit stacking method work? Yes, it did. Wow, I feel like genius. Imagine if I gave up right away. Now that I have a verified method of rocket part production, it's time to make the system for every part. But firstly, sorry medium wind turbines, you look beautiful, but you cause too much lag. Next ingredient is engine component Mark I, which is made of steel, palladium and silver. And this is where routing nightmare started. I don't want different components to share the same mining stations. They need different ratios. But that means that I need to use all 4 colors of chutes so they won't intersect. I know it's very hard to look at because of all of this red light that I decided to go with. Trust me, building it was even worse. Eventually I decided to change the whole setup because adding third smelter chain to the mix would create a chute abomination beyond my comprehension. So instead, I decided to make a separate lanes of excavators for different recipes. This way I can increase mining throughput as I need. This routing challenge was actually very fun to solve, but conveyor wrenches are terrible for buildings at such scales. This mod craves grand design type item of its own. I was about to add third lane of machinery, but I'm out of silicon again. Smelters and assemblers both need silicon, and some of the rocket parts require it as well. It's clear that I need to produce it in bulk, but I'm sick of mining silica sand by hand. I want to blow up the entire map, and that means that I need to kill Plantera. And that's my other issue with this mod. Normal progression doesn't feel like a challenge, more like an annoying obstacle. I could have done all of that previous to mech bosses, but it's just easier to beat the entire game first and then do the mod stuff. The only reason I beat mechanicals was glorified extractinator, because I was sick of using the normal one. Anyways, to the Plantera. I've decided to make horizontal arena because I don't have much vertical mobility, only a cloud in a bottle and lightning boots. I also covered bottom half with honey, so that therm balls wouldn't get in the way. And making a lot of honey, if you don't want to bother with fishing, is easy. All that you need is money. Buy a lot of anvils, convert them to iron, make a lot of buckets, drain the ocean, convert water buckets into honey buckets. Done. Can you hear that rhythm in the background? It's the sound of items being passed through my machines. It doesn't matter how far I am, the sound of my beautiful factory will fill my heart. One of my oceans converted to crimson, very canonical event. Cleaning it is a temporary solution, and if you don't want to bother as much as I do, here is a tip. Buy a lot of sunflowers from a dryad and place them nearby. Sunflowers nullify evil biome effects. NPCs will live in this corrupt garden just fine, and you don't need to worry about upkeeping this place. The worst that could happen already happened. Now I need to find a weapon to blow up the entire map with. But that's easy. All that I need is to make artificial dungeon biome on my mob farm. Alright, this method sucks. I wish I could fly indefinitely to not hurt myself while mining. That was the longest third phase in my entire life. I never thought that possessed hatchets could do so badly, and it did hurt really bad for some reason. I did a 10th playthrough on purpose. I know I'm bad at the game, and, as it turns out, I was playing with Hand of Creation the entire time. Okay, now I can play the mod. Ouch. Also canonical event. And all of that for 500 silicon. Is it a lot? No, it's not. It's roughly the amount that I've used on the whole factory so far. I returned to my factory and it's broken. All of the machines that I was shit stacking are now non-functional. In recipes, material slots are missing. My guess is that happened because I've reloaded the game. Let's test it. Let's take a brand new assembler and fill it up. Yep, that seems to be the case. Okay, if sheet stacking failed, then I must invent a new type of filtering. You may ask me, why can't I use filtering chest idea from kerosene generator? Well, the main difference is that I can't guarantee that both output and input will always have spares to give each other. And on top of that, ghostly inventory that could be filled but shouldn't. I was trying to invent something with chutes, but it's just not working. What if I use something that has shared inventory, like a safe or a void vault? Then I can potentially filter out items by making them my favorite, but no, it doesn't work. What a shame. That would have been so cool if I could run a factory from my meta inventory, but alas. Okay, if electronic filter fails me, then I can make a mechanical one. If you don't understand, then this is what I mean. This way I can successfully separate ores from bars. And yeah, this mod has a set of instruments to place items from machine inventory into the real world. I wasn't using it until now because I feel like if I exit the game while there are items on conveyors, they would disappear. But desperate times call for desperate measures. Separating ores from bars is easy. But what if I had to separate bars from bars? For example, steel production requires iron bars, so I need to find a way to filter out steel. Only way that I could think of right now is lava filtering. Steel is a green quality item, which means that it's not going to disappear in lava, while iron is going to be destroyed. But that's a very bad way to filter out items. I need to keep the ingredients, not to destroy them. Well, what about item magnetic properties? When two of the same items meet, they can gravitate towards each other. So what if I have two lanes? A lower one is filled with items that I want to be filtered. And it doesn't work. Different lanes move at the same speed, so they never have a chance to interact. Okay, what if I fill them with honey? No effect on speed. Okay, I'm getting closer, but I'm not there quite yet. Even one block apart is too much. But wait, remember that kerosene didn't interact with oil. What if... Yes. Now I have a different kind of problem. Items do interact, but they are merged perfectly in the middle, and they can't choose a side. Maybe all that I need is a little sloping. No. Whatever I do is going to affect both lanes. But hold on, the answer is right there. I had a major eureka moment. If I slope conveyor rails to half a block, then filtering item will fall onto them and will be sent out. But items that were not filtered and didn't change lanes, they can just barely touch the opposite conveyor. I feel like a genius right now. Like a mad scientist. And this is what I love about mods like this. Yes, some of the machines are broken, some are useless. Item transferring mechanic lacks basic functions like item filters, but that's what makes it so fun to me. It's easy to make a good looking picture when you have all of the colors in the world, but making something beautiful when you only have old brush and faded palette, that's the real challenge. But I don't want to say that mod developers shouldn't improve the experience. I'm one of the few people who can find joy in this torture. When I returned to the factory to unleash my new fountain filter designs, I noticed that one of the smaller smelters was also broken. I didn't apply sheet stacking to it, so missing slot problem must come from somewhere else. I ran the test and, as it turns out, there was not one, but two separate bugs, which have nothing to do with sheet stacking. If any item is left in the ingredients slot during reload, it would automatically go into the ghost inventory next time the game is loaded. And the other problem is that if any item is left in a product slot, it will break the ingredients slot display, and probably their filtering properties too. Unfortunately, my filtering fountain design was useless. The only way to keep the factory running is to never turn off the game, but that's a sacrifice I'm willing to make. The price is not that high though, there is only like an hour worth of content. For me, of course. For you it'd be like 15 minutes. All that's left is to finish up the factory. I've unlocked new meta in sheet stacking, Copper Axe method. It's 1.4.4, they don't stack with each other. They are cheap and easy to buy by the hundreds. Now it's time to turn this baby on in full glory. For the first and for the last time. Now the game is lagging even without wires on the screen. It's a different kind of lag though. I think it's because of item transferring visualization. Thankfully it doesn't happen when I leave this place. I don't think I would need to look at the wires ever again. That means that all the wind turbines make a great comeback. And batteries, of course. Wow, this was scary. I thought my computer was going to shut off. Now it's time to finish up the rocket. This is glorious. It seems like I need to fuel it first. Good thing I have this bottomless puddle of kerosene, a full tank, and it still can't go anywhere. Moon is inaccessible, orbit is not selectable. I think I made a decorational rocket. Well then, all that's left to do is to complete the game and go to the moon. And while I do that, I want to spill my thoughts on Macrocosm in general. Let's start with the factory part. The main difference from other factory type games is that raw resources are not the main bottleneck. You can always double or triple build them if you want, which is very suiting for Terraria. I like it. Unfortunately, that means that right now the most optimal way of using excavators is the most boring one. There is no situation where you can't just bring ore home, so all of the excavator builds end up looking like a giant rectangles of ore. Imagine if there was ore that you have to find somewhere in a cave, and you have to use excavators to extract it. And then a whole bunch of other side quests comes naturally, like where do you get electricity, what is the optimal arrangement of excavators, is it even worth the effort, or you could just wait until you're able to mine the ore and take it home. I would love that kind of dilemma. I'm not saying that they should make it just like Factorio. It's just really easy to create such a scenario. All that you need is a mineral that is present in the world for a very long time, but is mineable at later stages of the game. I just love the idea of factories appearing naturally around something you can change. Imagine if there was a new type of meteorite that you will not be able to mine for a very long period, so you have to make a factory around it. Now let's talk about pollution. For now, there is only one real way to counter the consequences of pollution. It's simply to pollute somewhere else, away from you and your base. I just wish there were more devastating consequences. Literal natural disasters caused by you. What if you polluted so much that you broke the ozone layer and now the earth is scorching? Or imagine a hurricane event like a blood moon, or an earthquake that caused an invasion. I know that spitting ideas is easy, and mod developers have a different vision. I'm just that excited to see more content from Macrocosm, whatever it will be. Now let's talk about machines. It's weird that right now most of the low tier counterparts are better than their upgrades, but if it was otherwise, I wouldn't be happy either. In my opinion, every tier of machinery must have its upsides and downsides, so that the answer to which one is better wouldn't be a definitive one. It depends. The easiest implementation of this would be separating excavators by mining power, so that small excavators are better at mining simpler ores, but cannot mine the hard mode ones, and bigger excavators require much more energy and produce a lot more pollution, but they are the only ones that can mine hard mode ores. Speaking of excavators, there is a ton of drills in the game. I think that would be cool if you have an ability to insert a drill bit into its slot to increase mining power of an excavator, like module slots in Factorio. And look, I've completed the game already. That means that I can finally go to the moon. That was very cool. And look at that, my rocket did survive entire flight. I didn't expect that. I took everything to make new rocket on site. I took a whole base worth of items actually. My inventory, void bag, piggy bank, safe, rocket also has its own inventory. And I might need all of that. There is one last boss that I need to destroy before calling it a win. And so I set out to explore the moon. Even though I defeated Moonlord, I'm not very strong right now. I can't wear endgame armor because I must use this spacesuit. What, you thought you could breathe in space? You're crazy. Gravity also stands in the way. There is almost no vertical mobility, like you have a featherfall potion and you can't switch it off. And honestly, I like it. I know that the devs are planning to add whole solar system, and I hope that they make progression non-linear. Surface didn't have anything interesting, so I went underground. There I found a lot of new ores, as well as Luminate and abandoned facilities with a bunch of new materials. Osmium boots. It's an accessory that lets me descend faster even in low gravity. But most important of them all, Floodlights. Oh my god, they are glorious. Devs, if you're watching, please let them be craftable. I want them in my base so bad. And then I struck a quartz vein. Quartz can be used to make silicon, and there is a ton of it in here. When I returned to the surface, it was still a day. Day-night cycle here is absurdly long. After this long of a day, there is going to be equally long night. And based on the warning that I got while traveling in the rocket, night is going to be really rough. The only thing that is working here is solar, so if I want to make a factory here, I must be quick. And as soon as I thought that, meteor shower appeared. Very cool. It will be smart to move underground, so I quickly set up excavators for all of the new ores and solar. And speaking of solar, it has one major advantage over wind power. Connected panel blocks are represented by one number, so they would cause as much lag as a single wind turbine, but can produce as much power as my whole setup on Earth, or even more. So power production method changed once again, but nah, it's too late. New ores were kind of boring. They just represent each class. New armor sets are just a better version of spacesuit designed for each class, and new weapons were mostly underwhelming. After endgame weapons, they really feel like a downgrade. So there is only one thing left to do. It's to defeat the final boss of the game, the Crater Demon. Thank you for watching, and thanks to everyone involved in Macrocosm development. That was an exciting experience. Can't wait to see more from you. If you like my content, then let me know. Subscribe to my channel.